I would like to invite on stage Mr. Satish Sehgal, the President, India-Thai Business Association, who is our chief guest and a speaker for tonight. Please welcome him on stage with a round of applause.
Having congratulated the organizers for selecting Thailand to host this important event, I believe the very reason why all of us are here today is for the organizers to recognize, acknowledge your achievements, and then make it known publicly. As the chairman of the India-Thai Business Association, I would like to thank and congratulate the organizers for giving me this opportunity to share my views. I'd like to thank all of you present here today, especially those of you who are here to receive certain awards. I think at the end of the race, it is only natural that you, having succeeded in your endeavors, that you are recognized for your achievements. India and Thailand have a lot in common. And yet we are so far and yet so near. The economic interaction between the two countries started in 1947, when India gained independence. When this interaction started, the level of trade between the two countries was very, very low. India bought only goods and services from Thailand that it needed to, and vice versa. Thailand only traded in goods and services that Thailand had to. And this trend continued until the year 1993, when India started the process of liberalization. And that was the time when genuine trade started to grow. Today, the level of trade between the two countries is about 10 billion US dollars, which is again very, very low, considering the fact that it only represents 2% of the total value of trade between Thailand and the world, and it represents almost the same percentage. It represents only 2% of India's trade with the world. So I see tremendous room for growth in as far as the economic interaction is concerned. I thought it was absolutely essential for me to share these with you, because the activities that you are involved in all revolves around trade and economic interaction. Brands, products are only a part of that activity. I'd like to just add one more thing, which I think would be of interest to you, and I am asked this question very frequently. What are the possibilities of increasing interaction between the two countries? We know the level is very low. I think to start with, the private sector has to play a very important role in this. The government sector has to actively support the private sector. If the government actively supports the private sector, both the governments, and the private sector, aided by the associations, take an active interest, the trade between the two countries can and will grow. Currently, Thailand receives over 1 million visitors from India every year. I see that during the next 3 to 5 years, this will increase to 2 million, because Thailand is the single largest destination in Southeast Asia for Indians. On the reverse side, 100,000 residents of Thailand, Thais visit India, but mainly for pilgrimage. I think while the Indian government is, especially the Department of Tourism, is interested in getting more people from Thailand to visit India. Other than that, I also see a lot of opportunities in other areas, such as construction, in food industry. I see a lot of interest and opportunities in the restaurant business, Indian food in Thailand and Thai food in India. Not only do I see opportunities between India and Thailand, I also see opportunities within the ASEAN region. Intra-regional trade, I see a lot of opportunities, because ASEAN is one of the largest growing areas in the world. So there are tremendous opportunities. And in conclusion, I'd like to say that with the assistance of the different governments, ASEAN governments, the Indian government, the Thai government, and with the active participation and support of the trade associations of both the countries, all of you present here, the entrepreneurs, the business people, you can look forward to a healthy growth in the economic action between the two countries, in a very healthy growth within the intra-regional. I would like you to change your perception. Whatever you look as impediments, why don't you convert that into opportunities? Because if it is not a problem for the Americans to gain entry into the Indian market, for the Japanese to get entry into the Indian market, for the Chinese to gain entry into the market, and your immediate neighbors such as Malaysians, Singaporeans, Indonesians, if they don't see these as impediments, why would my friends in Thailand look at it as impediment? Because rules are the same, conditions are the same. I think it is the mindset that needs to be changed. It's the perception that needs to be changed. And with that note, I'd like to urge my Thai friends to seriously look at the Indian market. You have tremendous opportunities. You have a market, you have a huge market. India with a population of 1.2 billion, out of which there are 300 million who have tremendous purchasing power. So it's a market that you should seriously look at. And if there's anything that the India-Thai Business Association or the India-Thai Chamber of Commerce can assist you, these two associations will be more than happy to assist you in any way, form. And for my Indian friends from India, if you need any information, any data, anything we can do to open doors for you in Thailand, to assist you in providing you the basic information.
Ladies and gentlemen, Global Business Symposium is a flagship series initiative of Herald Global. And today, do we know what the theme is? Anyone? Today's theme for our panel discussion of Global Business Symposium is Rise of Asia. Ladies and gentlemen, we all know in the ancient economy, China and India alternated in being the powerful economy from maybe about 180 to about 1800 AD. And these major economic powers attracted the Europeans for commerce and exploration. Let's face it, even the accidental discovery of America was when Columbus went ahead and tried to find India, and that was due to understanding the ways Asia did trade and business back then. Well, ladies and gentlemen, in comparison, last year, millionaires in Asia increased 9.4% to the figure of 5.1, as I just said. And in the entire North America, it increased by 2% to 4.8 million. In Latin America, we suffered a decline of net worth of 3.7, and Europe had a steady growth of 4.8 due to a few countries performing better than expected. Agreed? Like every economy in the world, this continent faces a lot of trends, a lot of challenges and drawbacks. But the question that I have for all of you, is Asia still a rising economy, or is it becoming a trendsetter and a leader? What do you think? I can only be quoting the numbers and the facts, but to help me today, I would like to invite on stage our experts and hear their opinions in regarding this topic that we have. First, let me invite on stage Mr. Satish Sehgal once again, the President, India-Thai Business Association. Joining him on stage will be Ms. Supavadi, CEO, Mullen Low Group, Thailand. Joining them on stage is Mr. Karan Singh, Executive Director, India-Thai Chamber of Commerce. Good evening, sir. Joining them on stage is Mr. Ravi Jayawardena, CEO, Maliban from Sri Lanka. Last but not the least, joining on stage is Mr. Jiravat, Deputy Managing Director, Disavat Industries Company Limited. Ladies and gentlemen, a huge round of applause for our panelists for the evening. Can we have a microphone on stage?
Hi, my name is Jirawat Tangkit Ngamwong. I'm the chairman of the Thai Timber Association and also the Thai Chamber of Commerce, the chairman on the Lifestyle and Design Cluster. I would say that for the past year, I see the development of Thailand, especially in the tourism, that's been booming. We have this year about 31 million people coming over, and because of that, it actually drives the other sector to be booming as well, like the real estate, and a lot of industry are following. So I could say that, okay, Thailand actually has the experiencing the growth, the rise of Asia, together with other regions as well. That's why we are planning the EEC Economic Corridor, try to connect the other part of Asia together as one, so we can enjoy the network opportunity as well. Yep. So
Okay.
that's my beginning statement.
Thank you so much.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ravi Jayawardena. I work for Maliban Biscuits in Sri Lanka as a CEO Sales and Marketing. If you take the topic Rise of Asia, when you say any continent or any country to develop, there are two factors. One is the economic side and the other one is the political side. And if you take Asia, especially during the last 5 to 7 years, had a very good political background stability, mainly thanks to India and China, the two big brothers. And if you take the economic side, as you know that Asia consists of about 60% of the world population, and the latest statistics says that 50% of the world growth comes from Asia. And if you take the last perhaps 20 years, the poverty rate has dropped from 50 to 22%. And the economics predicts that by year 2030, that the Asian economy will be bigger than the combined economy of USA and the European Union. So ladies and gentlemen, all of us are from Asia and we are at the right place at the right time. I'd like to take two very briefly element on this growth, is that one is the middle class growth. As you know that worldwide there's 3.3 billion middle class people, and the economic value is roughly about $35 trillion, from which is about 50% is from Asia. And if you take the next few years, the next 1 billion, it's a middle class, entry into the world population is actually a lot of economics gurus or pundits says that 70 to 80% will come from Asia. So that is absolutely staggering numbers. So what has happened in 60s, 70s in the North America and Europe, or in 80s in Japan, now it's very much at a faster rate is happening in Asia. So the final point I would like to tell you is that the brands, if you take last 30 years, if you do a Google search, the best or most valued brands out of the best 100 brands, or 50 plus brands are coming from USA. But if you take current situation, first time in world history, the first 15 brands, 4 brands have come from Asia. Samsung, Toyota, of course, 2 big Chinese brands, Alibaba and Tencent. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are all from brands background with some brand management, and so it's extremely important that the Asia has started the journey and to accelerate, and this type of events definitely will help us to further strengthen that knowledge. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, welcome all of you to Bangkok, to Thailand, the land of smile, as you all say. And as far as the economy in Asia is concerned, you see, in fact, I was going through a newspaper today only, and Thailand is one of the 24th best place to do business in Thailand, actually, amongst the world, actually. So in Thailand, you have a lot of opportunities, actually. In the chamber also, we have more than 350 Indian companies who are the members of the chamber. And we have been here for the last 25 years doing business in Thailand. And Thailand is one of the largest exporter of rice in the world, up after Vietnam and India. Tapioca starch, we have a lot of abundance here. Pulp paper industry, sugar industry, textile industry. So Thailand is considered to be one of the tiger of Southeast Asia, actually. So you can say Thailand is one of the best, actually. And if anything related to the industry, you can ask me a question. Basically, I'm into industrial, basically. My company is Ambition Engineering Company, and we are dealing in industrial equipments, actually. So if anything related, you can always ask to me. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, keep those round of applause going.
Okay. Sawadika. I'm from Thailand. My name is Supawadi Tantiyanan. I'm the CEO of Malelo Group Thailand. We are the creative agency, so actually we are helping the products or the company to success in brand communications to the consumer. So, well, when I get the invitations to be part of the panels and talking about the rising of Asia, I think one of the things that come up top of mind, okay, yes, we have been experienced and be part of the success of the Asias in the last 5 to 10 years. I think it started to be materialized and we enjoyed it everywhere, across Asia, especially for our friends in China and also in India. I'm sure that we can really see it, right? The questions to come up to my mind is that, well, if we are doing that well, how can we get into the sustainabilities of making the success go further? Okay, that's the first question. And the second question is like, what would be the, tips of the trade from the winning brand, that why they get so success in the global world? I'm sure that all of you have been like reading the news on November 11, that Alibaba has enjoying 25 billion sales in one day, okay? And that's quite interesting because about 6 years ago, I have working in Beijing, and that was the first time that I have heard about Singles Day. And I asked my ex-colleague that, what is it, They're okay, because they are celebrating, the Chinese celebrating their being singles, and then we can go to the pub and enjoy ourselves. But then several years later, we see that, wow, Alibaba has made a big things. They taking this because they know the consumer insight, and they know the pain point of Chinese who are still being singles and the pleasure in the society. And they really get to the point that we can celebrate it and enjoy ourselves by buying stuff for ourselves. So that is something that, quite interesting that why they are really getting to that point. Jack Ma has said when he put Alibaba to the stock market in US that the first priority of his company is all about the customer, making the customer happy. And the second priority is the employees. His staff have to be happy as well. And then the third is stakeholder. And he said that he got the questions from the press and also from others, investors that, that is so different from the US, from the West, that they would put stakeholder first as a company KPI and then, the other things later. He said, if they believe that, don't invest in my company. It just have to be that I put the customer first, because if the customer happy and my employee happy, stakeholder will happy for sure. So for being here, to all of us that being in the business and also in the brand building, brand management, I think that would be the key thing. How much that you know your customer. And if we want to bring our brand across the border, get into the globals, get into across Asia, I think we really have to understand the market. That would be the key thing. Yeah, that's my point for today.
Thank you so much. Yes, Mr. Sehgal.
Swadee krap once again. I'd like to just point out to you that when you talk about Asia, you have to talk about Asia in relation to the world. If you go back to the 80s, that was the American era. America today is still the largest economy in the world, but then it was only America. After that came EU. So that was the EU era. So it was the American era, then it was the EU era. And after that, in as far as Asia is concerned, the superpower, economic superpower, was Japan. So it was the Japanese era. Today, in the context of Asia, there are four main powers: China, India, Japan, and Korea. These four powers, the first two, by the sheer size of their economy, the population, the purchasing power, have become economic superpowers. I see in a few years from today, China will overtake America. India will be, by the year 2020, will be one of the 5 economic superpowers in the world. Now, one of the most important things, one of the most important considerations when you're looking at a particular country and the economy of that country is the population. Bigger countries, countries with larger population, have greater potential. Now, it doesn't really mean that countries like China and India, because of the large size of their population, China is number 1, India is number 2. But the very fact that a very high percentage of their population has great purchasing power. And I think that is a very important factor. So keeping those things in mind, my personal opinion is that these 4 superpowers in Asia will continue to grow, and Asia as a bloc will be the single largest economic bloc in the world. And I can see that happening within the next 2 to 3 years. EU has lost its importance. America will continue to be the economic superpower that it is today for another 2 to 3 years. And then it'll be China that will take over. In as far as India is concerned, I think India will be among the top 5. Korea is coming up very fast. Japan will remain where it is. I think they will continue to grow. And one of the biggest problems with countries like Japan, and for that matter, Korea, is the lack of natural resources. So Asian countries that have natural resources will gain because of their wealth, and that wealth comes from the natural resources. So with that, I'd like to sum up this part, and I'm sure we'll probably have more input at a later time.
Thank you so much, Mr. Sehgal. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to come down and take questions from you. Right there.
Now, my question to the panel members. So if you look at the rise of Asia, Mr. Sehgal very correctly said that the four countries, Japan, Korea, are technologically in the forefront, and it's because of the sheer size of economy, India and China are leading this rise of Asia. But you see, recently, China has introduced this concept of one belt, one road. And India has declined to join that one belt and one road. Now, do you think this political stance of India is going to cost the rise of Asia?
I think there is a political implication in as far as, it's a very valid question. I think there is I don't know whether I should use the word unfounded fear, but there is a fear among Asian countries, and the fear not only among Asian countries, this fear also is in the minds of the United States of America, Britain, France, and some countries in Europe. They are afraid that someday, China will have more political influence within Asia. And it is in that context that these countries would like India to be in a position to counter the Chinese influence. So it is strictly a political matter. I think my personal opinion is I do not see India joining hands with China in that direction. And this is strictly a political matter. Now, if you look at the economic possibilities of the project, it's a very good project, but then there are political implications, and because of the political implications, you will see that this concept is not likely to work. In the same context, I'd also like to mention to you that the American government, if you look at America has changed its economic policy towards Asia, towards Europe. America used to be one of the largest donors in the world. Today, the government is having second thought on it. They are seriously interested in the imbalance of trade with different countries. The President of America, on every trip to any of the Asian countries, has made it a point to explain to these countries, regardless of whether it's a developed country, it's developing country, or an underdeveloped country, the American government, regardless of the status, is increasingly concerned about the imbalance of trade between America and the rest of the world. And I think in that context, you will see that the thinking, the behavior, and the final outcome will definitely change. And whatever America thinks is going to have a tremendous impact on the other countries in the world.
Probably we haven't looked at the characteristics of Chinese investment and American investment in the world, and to the extent Indian investment in the world. American investment in the world is always conditioned through a lot of political conditions. But Chinese investments across the world is free from political conditions. I can give you one example. Even an Indian investment in Bangladesh, India gave a loan deal to Bangladesh of few $1 billion in last 5-6 years. Only 5% of that investment was materialized, only because of these political conditions. So I think the Chinese investment, free from political conditions, will thrive regardless of what India and America politically thinks.
You may have a point there. You may have a point there. Although my personal opinion is that no superpower in the world will invest, will give aid to any country unless it has something to gain. And it may not appear obvious as of now, but I think in the long run, the Chinese government must be looking at a lot of factors such as the return on investment, such as such as considerations about the political implications with a particular country. And I have noticed that there is a lot of Chinese investment. Of late, it has gone into Africa as well. But if you look at the trend of Chinese investment over the last 10 years, it has mainly been among neighboring countries. So I think it is in that context. You will see that China has started linkages from its borders into Laos, into Vietnam. Now they're coming into Thailand, it'll go to Malaysia, it'll go to Singapore. So I think it is in that context that the China also sees the opportunities not only of developing political interaction with its neighbors, but it's also thinking, I think over the long run, there would definitely be some kind of an economic considerations when they're investing in these countries.
May I join this conversations in a way that, the way I look at it, first, we have to have like questions and understanding how Chinese think. Because the way that they do the business, if I put the political intention aside for the moment and just like back to purely on the business and all, in terms of also the Chinese culture, they are like more or less the traders of the world since back in the many like 1,000 years ago. And they look at the world nowadays that like it's the market, just one market for the world. So the way that they moved out from China, investing in other countries, or even sending out their people to export, to have the exposure to the world. And that would be something that really like, it probably changing the whole games of superpower in the next 10 years, and also changing the way that we would also trading to each other, and also changing the way of like how the next, centuries political issue would be. Because if the Chinese really looking into like, well, it's one world and they have one product and then they can really expand it, just one snap and then it get all over. Look at the Alibaba and Tencent and many digital disruptions type of technology that they're trying to push out from their country, and not really depending upon the Western technology that much anymore. So that's a lot of things that happening right now that I think that's quite interesting to see that, yes, we will see how the world will change in the next few years.
Actually, I'll just like to add on. You see, India and Bangladesh, they have been very good friends, That's why Indian company or Indian government, they would like to invest more in Bangladesh rather than Pakistan, because Pakistan is not a good neighbor actually at all. So that is one of the reasons actually, as far as I think,
Yeah, my view is also, I think, I'm from Sri Lanka. We have seen both Chinese and Indian investments coming to Sri Lanka very heavily in the last perhaps 10 years. And China is very much politically neutral. What I feel is that they are true, they mind their own business. If you take China global numbers, it's like they are the biggest manufacturer within the country, the largest exporter, and perhaps the second largest domestic market. So they have got their pieces right. And definitely, if you take the next few years, the biggest question probably will be the sustainability of the growth. Like I know for sure you all know these climate changes. There are a lot of challenges at this rate. If the last 2 years, I think there was a slight drop in the growth. But not only in Asia, China has conquered the entire world business-wise. There's no question about that. That's the only country has. Earlier, US did it. and now China is doing it. So it's definitely, we have to be proud that China is in Asia. And so definitely, I look at it, it's truly a business country. And they're very much politically neutral when it comes to their investments, as somebody was telling earlier.
Yes, totally agree. As a Chinese descendant, I don't think there's a freebies from the Chinese investor. So they will expect something in the return is sooner or later, and they want it back in big volume as well. So Thailand, we know because we've been negotiating a lot with the Chinese investment, especially on one road, one belt, trying to build a transportation system to Thailand. So we are preparing by building the economic corridor, EEC, investing like 43 billions to receive this opportunity, take care of this opportunity. And we've been a lot negotiating with China for quite a while, and it's not conclusive yet somehow because of the business requirement that they want from the contract somehow. So somehow I believe that there's no free lunch with this investment, so there's something to be returned in big part as well later on. Yeah.
We've seen Western brands coming to Asia, adapting to the Asian style, their taste, and like the Asian lifestyle itself. Do you think it's about time that we have more of Asian brands actually exploring the, what we call the developed world, or, expanding outside their fair zone and being into a place where they can actually explore more?
Very interesting question. In fact, whether a particular brand is accepted or recognized is dependent on several factors, such as the quality of the product, the perception of the people, so on and so forth. Now you will see over the last 10 years, in fact, let me go back even 20 years, 20, 30 years. Before, let's say, 1970, you would never think in terms of buying a Chinese car, you'd never think in terms of buying a Japanese car. It was always European or American car. Then came the Japanese era. Datsuns, the Toyotas, the Isuzus came. And today, the Japanese conquer the world in as far as the automobile sector is concerned. After that came the Koreans. And today you have the Chinese. Some of the Asian brands today have become household names. Look at the Japanese consumer durable products. Look at the air conditioners. Look at the electronics. You look at all these things. It's mostly Asian today. Gone are the days when you would only buy anything made in Germany or anything made in America. So I see that this trend will continue for the sheer fact that the investment flow is from the West to this part of the world. And once you have investment, then you have the economic activity that follows trade in goods, trade in services. Look at IT, for example. America still is the single largest, but very soon India will overtake America in as far as the IT sector is concerned. So then you have names, Indian names in the IT sector. Some of the top 5 companies are recognized all over the world.
It's already happened, actually. If you look at the leading brand in the world, like Samsung, okay, like Toyota, it's been like many, many years, right? And also, for me, that would be like 2 parts of it.
Sony
okay.
as well.
Yeah, Sony's.
But these are
Toshiba.
mostly Japanese companies
True.
single-handedly spearheading it for a long time.
Yeah.
Don't you think there are more countries that need to actually get their brands out there as well?
And then we see Samsung, right? I mean, Samsung's already in there. Huawei and Lenovo. Yes, it's the brand that, I mean, okay, for me, let me put it this way. Like, there are 2 types of the brands for me. It's an Asians originated brand, like the brand like Samsung or Toyota or Sony.
Sure.
And also the brand that the Asian company bought it from the West. Like we see MG car, the British brands now owned by SAIC from China, right? Volvo also owned by the Chinese company.
Land Rover,
Land
Jaguar.
Rover, yeah,
Tata
yeah.
Motors.
So all the prestige. So I think that would be two stream, or even Lenovo. I could say they bought it from IBM about over 10 years ago. So we will see that there will be two streams: the one that originated in Asia and being sold in Asia, and now get across the border to the West, to US, to Europe, and then getting accepted globally. And then the other one is like, yes, the brand that originally owned by the West, and now we start to buy it and
Right.
own it. Or even in Thailand, I think right now we own Dean and Dorica from US. So yeah, we see more and more investors from this part of the world go out and then just buy the products buy the brands.
Right.
Yeah. So
Okay.
yeah, I think it's already happened, and I'm not sure that if we talk like this again in maybe like 3 years or 5 years from now, there might not be this such a notion anymore, because everything would become global and borderless.
Thank you.
In my opinion, we have a lot of potential for the Asian companies to be well known in all over the world. For instance, even in Thailand, we have a energy drink which is called Red Bull actually, which is very well known all over the world actually. Even from India, we have got Tata Motors. They are selling in Thailand, very popular nowadays. Initially, they were not doing well, but now they are. You can see every second, every 10th car is as far as the pickup is concerned, they are Tata Motors. Even a small company like in Himalaya, the herbal medicines and all the cosmetics there, they are very popular in Thailand amongst the ladies here actually. So there is a lot of potentials actually. Even, for example, if I take basmati rice itself, that is
Right.
also one of the popular brand which has
Major
become.
exports of
And
India
now
as well.
Modi ji has made yoga as one of the very popular all over the world actually. So that we have a lot of potentials in it. It depends on different products and different services also.
My opinion is that building brand is a long-term journey. I worked before Malibans, I worked for Unilever and Coca-Cola. I've seen like Coke, one of the best brands in the world. When it comes to brand, the functional quality has to be there. There's no question about it. But what we have seen is that building a brand is more on the emotional quality, emotional binding. Take Toyota, for example, today. When you talk about a car, you always think about Toyota, most valued car in the world. So BMW or Mercedes. So I think one of the challenges in Asia we had was had a bit of a trading mentality than building brands, because building brand doesn't happen overnight. What Coca-Cola today is doing good work for over 100 years. What Toyota is today for doing decades of good work. The product quality, if you take Nike, Reebok, and Adidas, 3 very good brands across the world, their R&D is exceptionally good. But you see why Nike is dominating in most of the markets, because of their connection with the consumer. So developing the brand in the consumer's mind is a long-term journey. I think now in Asia, especially with Japan has done that in 1980s. Now India and China also has got into the race, and it's a marketing challenge. What we have seen, the functional quality is easy to copy, and emotional quality is the one that cannot be copied. So as Asian, we should develop brands on a long term. We cannot do a 1 year or 10-year game. This is a 50-year, 10 decades game. So if you start the journey now, you will see in 20 years, at least out of first 100 brands, you will have 40, 50 brands from Asia.
Right.
Yes,
I think to add to you, that's where we come up with the brand valuation and the long-term brand value of a particular brand. And nowadays what's actually happening is, with a lot of internet companies coming up, the brand valuation of a company is actually being multiplied as per what it can do, rather than what the long-term projection of a particular brand is as well. Thank you so much.
Yes, and I think it's just a matter of time. Right now, I don't want to talk about a big conglomerate company. I want to talk about a small company that are thriving for their own brand in the world market. The rich and fabulous still decide to choose the European brand, American brand for their products, like for furniture, I'm in the furniture sector. But lately, right now, because I always attend our exhibit in the Milan show, I can see that a lot of projects are coming over for Asian product instead of purely use the European design or Japanese design. But right now, I can see a lot of trend coming toward the Asian side. So a lot of smaller company hooking up with the designer like from Europe or Asia so that they have some kind of connection to build the brand. Because somehow this is the mindset of the people and we can change this overnight, that people still want to use a European brand or American brand for their home, for something like this. This is what they feel that the built-in quality is into the brand. So to hook up with that opportunity, a lot of smaller companies try to engage somehow with the designer, with the some part so that they have some connection so that they can sell their brand value in this direction.
The question I have is like this. Brands, as we know, are of two types. One, brands which are created by concepts, which actually drives new growth engines. For example, Airbnb, Uber, Tesla's Musk, even the space travel are new brands that are coming up, which creates entirely new platforms, new opportunities. And do you think Asia, with all the brands that we are talking about, are ready? The entrepreneurs in this region are ready, and is the system, the ecosystem, ready to encourage such kind of brands, such kind of concepts coming out from Asia? Asian brands actually come up based on scale of business due to consumptions and due to large manufacturing strengths that actually meets worldwide demands. And yes, because of the scale, they get to a brand. So my question to you is, do you see any future Uber, Airbnb, or a Tesla kind of brand coming out of Asia?
It's a very good question because one of the things that I also prepare for myself is about the digital disruption that we have to be aware of. And yes, we want to see more and more companies and more brands in Asia coming into this age. And the question is, do we have one yet? What I can think of now would be the company like the brand like Grab. Grab is the Malaysians and Singapore-owned companies. Coming from the fresh graduate from Harvard kids, 2 or 3 of them as a founders, a couple years back. And they started with the understanding of the pain point of people who are waiting for the taxi queue in Singapore. And yes, they create a platform similarly, would be the same as similarly to the Uber as well. And right now they are growing from just the Grab taxi into other type of the services using the same concept and platform, delivery part. Okay, and another brand that I think we should be all proud of as part of being an Asian, it would be Line, the social platform from Korea, that being widely used in this part of the world has not yet come across to the West yet, but I think it's also because of the economic scale, they have more users, like number 2 in the world already. And Line has also similarly have gone from just the communication, messengers, community, and socials to the other type of business. Now Line get into the live payment, live entertainment, live games, and the way why their success they come because coming out from the understanding the consumer. Because in the success in digital, the most critical part is that you really have to understand your user, your customer, that how they interact and how they like, and you tweak and then you really doing something with your platform. Because the way that they are servicing for Traveloka, they go beyond hotels. They get into, you can book your car, you can book other things as well. So they are coming up with the add-on services that they could provide to the user. So yes, I think right now every country is really trying to push and how you put it, really supporting, the government is supporting the innovation in the digital for the startup company. For ecosystem, I think that's will be a challenge for many, many countries, including Thailand, that we are also having the Thailand 4.0 as part of the country agenda. But in terms of the ecosystem, we are just starting, and we have to develop a lot more. And I'm sure that like it would apply to many other countries in Asia apart from China and Korea and Japan.
Thank you so much. Well, ladies and gentlemen, with that, we will be winding up the Global Business Symposium panel discussion. A round of applause for all the panelists over here, their views. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the next segment now is a session by Miss Supadeep, CEO Mullen Low Group from Thailand. Ma'am, we would like to know your views, and go ahead. Thank you so much.
Okay, good evening again, ladies and gentlemen. Swadee ka. Swadee ka. Welcome to Thailand, and thank you, Barc Asia for selecting Thailand as a destination for the venue for tonight. Well, when I been asking to be one of the keynote speaker here and talking about the rising of Asia and sharing my point of view upon that topics. Okay, I think what I would like to do is that, that's some of the quick thought that I have prepared for tonight. I think the key thing is that we can, as I mentioned before, in the earlier sessions, that we can start to feel and really materialize and enjoy the rising of Asia economically. In the last 10 years, Asia has been surpassed in terms of the growth, okay, especially China and India. And I think right now in the last 3 years, we start to see that happen in the other country as well. We have the smaller country like Cambodia and Vietnam has also enjoying the growth of their GDP in the last 3 to 5 years at 7% growth. So there are the rising of the middle class, and also people are getting more money, that meaning the business can have more opportunities to sell the products as well. Okay, so I think the quick question for me is that, well, what are going to be the key things that making us in Asia to be success, and what would be the key factor that we can take and learning from the successful one as well? There are 5 things that I can think of right now. Okay, I think the first thing is that, well, if we are doing the business, we are the owner of the brands, we need to understand our customer. It seems to be just the marketing 101 that we have been studying, in the school, but actually today customer experience has become more than just people are knowing our brands and getting to the retail store and then buying the products off the shelf. It's more complicated because of the digital disruption that happened around us. People are interact with the brands more than just one dimension. So the challenge for all of us here is that how do we really understanding them, okay? At a single brand, or even for me, if we take in a greater stage, it would be for the country that if we're taking other market as the client or as the customer, how much do we really understand them in all industry? That would be something that we have to really challenging ourselves. So in that point, I think the key thing is that you have to understand the customer experience, not just from the point of the research in terms of the decimal point or in the percentage part. It would be that you really have to map the journey, that how do they really interact with your business or with your products? How do they know you, and what do they think about you as a brand or the product or the services? And what would be the key influence and making them to make such the interactions, okay? And by doing this, thanks to the technologies, okay, with the digitals coming on place, it really shortcut and saving a lot of time when we get into that, and really providing more information than ever in a cheaper way as well, more economical way as well, that we can really follow the path of the customer and knowing them in terms of the real experience and behavior. So
yeah, the first thing is that how you're going to manage the customer experience to make your company successful. And the second thing is that, okay, we see the technologies on board right now. Do we really have to use all of them? Probably not. If we understand the customer experience very well, then we can really utilize and maximize the technologies that, like power that it will empower us to do such a thing, okay? And the third point, it would be globalizations. I can see that yesterday I went to one of the event, okay? It was about the AR, okay, augmented realities versus the VR, virtual realities in terms of the applications, okay? And in that event, okay, there were about 35 to 40 people in the event. It's very interesting to see the audience because the speaker was one of the app developers who are just coming up with the new kind of the AR games on mobile, okay, that you can really, similarly to Pokemon, but it's different in terms of like you can really interact with them by walking around and then put the subjects together as a puzzle, okay. So the audience that I met yesterday are very multinationals. I see a lot of people who are coming from Europe, from US, and also some from Thailand and from ASEAN countries. So actually we are really living in the world of globalization. A lot of people are like traveling across the borders, living in another country, working in another country. So when you want to make the brand to be well known, it's not just your market anymore. You have to really think of like how you're going to really make a brand to be well known across the border. So again, the market is not just one single country. It's more like multinational, or even look at the globe as one market, okay? And thirdly, is about a free trade, okay? I think Khun Sathit has mentioned about the government support, and I see that as in the business sector, I see that, in many, many countries, we have seen the endorsement of the free trade all around the world. In Thailand, we will have more FTA, and then I think starting from next year, if I remember correctly, products from China will come into Thailand without like having to have any embargo on the tax. So that would be, I think, for the country that would be exporting, it would be something that benefit for them. But for the country that receiving the products, it would be the threat. So how the Thai brand would really encounter and look into competing with those sort of things. So that would be something that we have to look at the battle that we have to fight in the futures. And lastly, I would like to put the notion here. It's happened more and more in Thailand right now. We are in the changing the society. We are in the aging society, okay? And I think it also would apply to many other countries in the future as well. So in terms of the services, in terms of the brands, okay, we never really like focus much on the aging senior consumer as yet. So in the next few years, how could you really look into those market opportunities and really look in innovating services, innovating your product to get into the aging society, in a better way, okay? And lastly, what I put the notion here is that I think now we are seeing a lot of change in the world, and we are part of being the world citizenship as well. And as the world getting smaller and smaller, and we are living in the borders of the world, I think one of the key things that could make us success as the brands and or the company from Asia, it would be that how could we make it in a sustainable way? Do we really have the purpose of making the world better? Okay, I've been to several world seminars, okay, in Silicon Valley. And one of the things that I think I learned from more like younger generations, that a lot of startup company, and now they are not startup anymore, okay. Facebook said that they was a startup a few years back, but now they're very, very big and giant. But those people, those new companies that coming out to the world of nowhere, they are coming up with a clear brand purpose, okay, or the company purpose that to make the world better. And a lot of companies with the younger, aging company, they also not just put that in the mission or vision of the company for the sake of the stakeholder or shareholder speech, but they really put into the policy. For example, some of the companies that I talk with, like Salesforce, okay, they also put it as part of their company policy that they will allow their staff to celebrate the birthday, okay, with 1 week off, okay, apart from a normal vacation. But the thing is that they can take that 1 week off to do something for the society. And then they also will get the fund from the company to do that. And some of them would really go out on the country and helping the rural school to have a better library, or helping them to paint into the new pens and getting some fund from the company. So yet again, we are in the Asia. I think there's a lot of things that we could do to make the world better, to make our peoples better. So I would like to leave my remark here. And yet again, I would like to congratulate all the brands that would get the award later tonight. Thank you. สวัสดีค่ะ
Thank you so much.